The alarm bells rang through the Zephyrian border station like angry metal birds. Admiral Cuthbert jumped from his chair and rushed to the main screen. His purple skin turned darker with worry as he watched the readings. "What is that thing?" he asked his second-in-command. "Unknown, sir," replied Commander Zixtel. "It just came out of hyperspace at the edge of our territory. The computer says it does not match anything in our files." On the screen, a strange ship floated in the darkness of space. It looked rough and ugly compared to the smooth Zephyrian vessels. The hull was made of dark metal that seemed to absorb light. Strange bumps and towers stuck out from its surface like metal mountains. Cuthbert had been guarding this border for 20 years. He had seen traitors, pirates, and enemy scouts, but nothing like this. The ship was too big to be a scout and too small to be a real threat. At least, that is what he thought. "Send the standard warning," he ordered. "Tell them to leave our space, or be destroyed." Miles away, floating in the cold vacuum of space, Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the USS Nightfall. He was a tall man with gray hair and tired eyes. 3 months ago, his ship had been exploring a distant star system when their jump drive had broken down. They had been trying to get home ever since. The captain said Lieutenant Commander Lisa Garcia, his first officer. "We are getting a transmission from the aliens. They want us to leave." Jake looked at the main screen. 12 large ships surrounded them in a half circle. Each one was 3 times bigger than the Nightfall. They looked like silver daggers pointed. At his heart, "How many people are on those ships?" he asked. "Sensors show about 2,000 crew members on each vessel," replied Lisa. "That means we are facing 24,000 aliens." Jake thought about his own crew of 300. They were good people, engineers, scientists, soldiers, and explorers. They had families waiting for them back on Earth. He could not let them down. "Chief Walsh?" he called to his engineer. "How?" "Long until the jump drive is ready." Tony Walsh, a short man with oil stains on his uniform, shook his head. "Maybe 4 hours, Captain. Maybe 5. The exotic matter needs time to cool down, or the whole system will explode." Jake nodded. He had expected that answer. The experimental jump drive had gotten them this far, but it needed time between jumps. Time they might not have. "Communications," he said to Nina Parker, a young woman with bright red hair. "Open a channel to the alien fleet." Channel open. Sir Jake stepped forward and looked directly at the camera. He knew the aliens were watching him. They would judge his words and actions in the next few minutes. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the Earth vessel Nightfall," he said in a calm voice. "We come seeking safe passage through your territory. We mean no harm, but we will defend ourselves, if necessary." On the Zephyrian flagship, Admiral Cuthbert stared at the human captain. The alien translation software made the words clear, but the meaning was confusing. This single ship wanted to challenge the entire Zephyrian border fleet. "He must be insane," whispered Commander Zixtel. Cuthbert was not so sure. In his 20 years of service, he had learned that insane enemies were often the most dangerous. But what troubled him more was the ship itself. His sensors could not get clear readings from it. The energy patterns were unlike anything he had ever seen. "Bring the fleet to attack formation," he ordered. "But do not fire unless I give the command." 12 massive Zephyrian warships moved like hunting wolves. Their silver hulls gleamed in the light of the nearby star. Energy weapons powered up with deadly blue light. Shield generators hummed to life. On the Nightfall, Lieutenant Ben Torres watched the alien ships move. "Captain, they are surrounding us. Weapons are charging." Jake felt sweat on his forehead. His ship was tough, but not tough enough to fight. 12 warships. He needed to buy time. Time for the jump drive to cool down. Time to think of a plan. "To all hands, this is the captain," he said over the ship's communication system. "You may be facing hostile action. All non-essential personnel report to the armored sections." This is not a drill. Dr. Amy Chen, the ship's science officer, looked up from her station. "Captain, I am reading the alien transmissions. These beings appear to be very military-minded. They respect strength above all else." "What are you suggesting, Doctor? Maybe we should show them some strength." Jake thought about this. The Nightfall was not a warship. It was an exploration vessel with some weapons for defense. But the aliens did not know that? Maybe they could use that uncertainty. Chief Walsh, he called. Can you power up our weapons without using the jump drive energy? Yes, sir. But why would we want to do that? Because I want those aliens to see what we are capable of. Tony Walsh grinned. He understood now. How much power do you want me to show them? Enough to get their attention. But not enough to actually fight. I can give you 50% power on all systems. That should create quite a light show. Do it. Nightfall began to change. Energy flowed through its systems like blood through veins. The ship's railguns extended from hidden ports. Plasma cannons rotated toward the alien fleet. Point defense lasers tracked across the hull like metal spiders. Most importantly, the ship's main reactor began to work harder. The energy signature grew stronger and stronger. To the Zephyrian sensors, it looked like the human ship was preparing for war. On the alien flagship, alarms began to sound. Admiral, shouted the sensor operator. The human ship is powering up weapons. Energy levels are going off our charts. Kethvar felt ice in his stomach. His sensors were designed to read energy patterns from known technology. But the human ship was using something completely different. The readings made no sense. How is that possible? He whispered. Unknown, sir. What? But if those readings are correct, that single ship has more firepower than our entire fleet. Kethvar stared at the human vessel. It still looked rough and primitive, but looks could lie, maybe. The humans had technology that his people could not understand, maybe. This was not just an exploration ship. Maybe it was something much worse. For the first time in 20 years, Admiral Kethvar felt real fear. The two fleets faced each other in the darkness of space. Neither side wanted to fight. But neither side could back down. And somewhere in the distance, more Zephyrian ships were coming. The situation was about to get much worse. Admiral Kethvar watched the human ship with growing alarm. Energy readings from their sensors made no sense. The primitive-looking vessel was producing power levels that should have torn it apart. Either the humans had technology far beyond Zephyrian understanding, or their sensors were being fooled by something incredible. Send a message to High Command, he told his communications officer. Tell them we have encountered an unknown threat. Request immediate backup. Commander Zixtel leaned closer to his admiral. Sir, should we not try to communicate with them first? Perhaps they are peaceful.
Oh.
Look at those readings, Kethvar pointed at his screen. No peaceful ship needs that much firepower. This is either a warship or something much worse. On the bridge of the Nightfall, Captain Morrison called his senior officers together. The main screen showed the alien fleet growing larger as more ships arrived. What had started as 12 vessels was now becoming 20. Options, he said simply. Dr. Amy Chen spoke first. Captain, I have been studying their transmissions.
I'll be these.
Aliens appear to be very organized and military-focused. They respect strength, but they also seem to fear the unknown. What does that mean for us? Asked Lisa Garcia. It means they are probably more afraid of us than we are of them right now. Security. Chief Ryan Clark shook his head. That might not be good news. Afraid enemies sometimes shoot first and ask questions later. Tony Walsh looked up from his engineering station. Captain, I have some strange readings. Aliens keep scanning us, but their sensors seem confused. I think our reactor signature is throwing them off. How so? Sir, human technology is built different than most alien tech we have seen. We use brute force solutions. Big reactors, heavy armor, redundant systems. Most aliens prefer efficient, clean energy. Our reactor probably looks like a bomb to them. Captain Morrison thought about this. The Nightfall had been built for long exploration missions. Everything on the ship was designed to be tough and reliable. If it broke, the crew could fix it. With basic tools, but this also meant the ship used more power and created more heat than most vessels its size. Nina, he said to his communications officer, are you getting anything useful from their transmissions? Yes, sir. Their language is starting to make sense to the computer. But Captain, they keep using words that translate to threat and danger when they talk about us. They think we are dangerous? Very dangerous, sir? Lieutenant Ben Torres, the tactical officer, looked worried. Captain, 3 more alien ships just dropped out of hyperspace. That makes 23 total. And these new ones are bigger than the others. On his screen, Captain Morrison could see the new arrivals. They were massive ships, each one the size of a city block. Their hulls bristled with weapons and sensor arrays. These were not border patrol ships. These were warships. Chief Walsh, Morrison said quietly. How much longer on the jump drive? 3 hours minimum, Captain. Exotic matter is still too hot. If we try to jump now, we could end up anywhere in the galaxy, or nowhere at all. Morrison nodded. 3 hours was a long time when facing an alien fleet, but they had no choice but to wait. Dr. Chen, what do you recommend? The science officer thought for a moment. I believe our best option is to continue appearing strong while trying to communicate. If they respect strength, we need to show them we are not afraid. But we also need to convince them we are not here to fight. That sounds like walking a tightrope. Yes, sir. But it might be our only chance. Admiral Kethfer received the report from High Command with relief. Supreme Admiral Vexera herself was coming with the battle fleet. If anyone could handle this strange human ship, it would be her. But as he waited, more disturbing reports came in. His sensor teams had been studying the human vessel for 2 hours now. The energy patterns made no sense. The ship appeared to be using some kind of exotic matter for power. The same kind of matter that theoretical physicists said could be used to make planet-killing weapons, Admiral called his science officer. We have detected quantum fluctuations around the human ship. These readings suggest they may have weapons based on exotic physics. Kethfer felt his blood turn cold. Exotic physics weapons were the stuff of nightmares. Weapons that could tear holes in space itself. Weapons that could destroy entire star systems. Are you certain, Ada? The readings are consistent with theoretical models, sir. But we have never seen such technology actually used. On the nightfall, the crew continued their careful dance of appearing threatening while trying to seem peaceful. Chief Walsh had managed to increase their power output even more, creating impressive energy signatures that meant nothing but looked dangerous. Captain, said Nina Parker, I am getting more transmissions from the aliens. They keep mentioning something called exotic physics and planet killers. Planet killers? Morrison felt confused. Why would they think we have planet-killing weapons? Dr. Chen looked at her readings. Captain, I think I know why. Our jump drive uses exotic matter for fuel. To their sensors, it probably looks like we are carrying a massive exotic matter warhead, but it is just fuel. They do not know that. Sir, to them, exotic matter means weapons of mass destruction. Morrison realized they had stumbled into a much bigger problem than he had thought. The aliens were not just worried about a single human ship. They thought Earth had sent a planet-killing super weapon into their territory. This keeps getting worse, muttered Ryan Clark. The situation became more complicated when the alien fleet began to change formation. Instead of surrounding the Nightfall, they started spreading out into a wide defensive pattern, Captain reported. Ben Torres. The alien ships are moving into what looks like a disaster evacuation formation, like they are preparing to protect something important. Protect what? Unknown, sir. But there appears to be a large space station behind their fleet, maybe a civilian outpost. Morrison felt sick to his stomach. The aliens thought his ship was about to attack their civilians. No wonder they were so frightened and aggressive. Nina, open a channel to the alien fleet. All frequencies. Channel open, sir. Morrison stepped forward and spoke directly to the camera. This is Captain Morrison of the Earth vessel Nightfall. We are not here to harm anyone. We're explorers trying to find our way home. We carry no weapons of mass destruction. Please, let us explain. Admiral Kethfer received the transmission with suspicion. The human captain sounded sincere, but that could be a trick. Planet killers were often disguised as innocent vessels. Sir, said his communications officer. Should we respond? Kethfer thought carefully. If he was wrong about the humans, he might start a war that would destroy millions of lives. But if he was right, and he did nothing, the results could be even worse. Not yet, he decided. We wait for Supreme Admiral Vexthera. She will know what to do. Both fleets continued to face each other in the darkness of space. Neither side fully understood what the other wanted. Fear and confusion grew stronger. With each passing minute, and in the distance more ships were coming, Supreme Admiral Vexthera arrived with the most powerful fleet the Zephyrian Empire had ever assembled. 47 warships dropped out of hyperspace in perfect formation. At the center flew her flagship, the Eternal Dominion, a massive dreadnought that could destroy entire planets. She had ruled the Zephyrian military for 15 years. In that time, she had conquered 12 star systems and defeated 6 different alien races. But the reports about this human ship worried her more than any enemy she had ever faced. "Show me the readings," she commanded as soon as she reached the bridge. Her science officer, a nervous young Zephyrian named Colvin, displayed the data on the main screen. "Supreme Admiral, the exotic matter signatures are unlike anything in our database. If these readings are correct, that single ship could destroy this entire star system." Vexthera studied the numbers with growing alarm. She had seen exotic matter weapons in theory. Scientists said they could tear holes in reality itself, but no one had ever built one. The technology was too dangerous. "How many civilians are on Border Station Nexus 7? She asked. 50,000, Supreme Admiral, plus their families on the nearby colonies, Ash felt. The weight of command settled on her shoulders. If the humans attacked, hundreds of thousands of innocent people would die. She could not let that happen. On the nightfall, Captain Morrison watched the new alien fleet with growing concern. His ship was now facing nearly 50 enemy vessels. The largest one was so big, it blocked out the stars behind it. "Captain," said Lieutenant Torres, "I'm reading massive energy signatures from that big ship. It has enough firepower to turn a moon into dust." "How long until our jump drive is ready?" Morrison asked Chief Walsh. 2 hours, sir. Maybe less if I push the system harder. Do not push it too hard. Broken jump drive will not help anyone. Dr. Amy Chen looked up from her station with worry in her eyes. "Captain, the alien transmissions are becoming more aggressive. They keep using words that translate to surrender and disarm. I think they want us to give up our weapons." "We cannot do that," said Ryan Clark. "If we power down our weapons, they will know we are not as dangerous as they think." Morrison found himself caught between impossible choices. If he kept his weapons powered, the aliens would continue to see him as a threat. But if he powered them down, they would realize his ship was not the super weapon they feared. Then they might attack. "Nina," he said to his communications officer, "try to establish direct contact with their commander. Maybe we can talk our way out of this." "I will try, sir." Lieutenant Commander Lisa Garcia moved closer to the captain. "Sir, what if they refuse to listen? What if they attack?" Morrison thought about his crew. 300 good people who just wanted to go home. "Then we fight as long as we can and hope the jump drive comes online in time." Supreme Admiral Vexthera received the human transmission request with suspicion. The enemy wanted to talk. That could be good news or very bad news. Sometimes the most dangerous enemies were the ones who smiled while they destroyed you. Put them through, she decided, but keep all weapons ready. The main screen flickered and showed the bridge of the human ship. Vexthera saw a tall man with gray hair and tired eyes. He did not look like a conqueror, but appearances could lie. "I'm Supreme Admiral Vexthera of the Zephyrian Empire," she said. "You will surrender your vessel immediately or face destruction." Captain Morrison looked directly at her through the screen. "Supreme Admiral, I am Captain Jake Morrison. We are not here to fight you. We are explorers trying to get home. Please, there must be some way to resolve this peacefully. You carry weapons that could destroy star systems," Vexthera replied. "No explorer needs such power." Morrison felt confused. "Supreme Admiral, I think there has been a misunderstanding. We carry no weapons of mass destruction. Our ship is designed for exploration, not war. Our sensors do not lie. Human, your vessel contains enough exotic matter to crack a planet in half." Now Morrison understood. The aliens thought his jump drive was a weapon. "Supreme Admiral, that exotic matter is fuel for our faster-than-light drive. It is not a weapon." Vexthera did not believe him. Every species she had ever encountered used clean, efficient energy for space travel. The massive power signatures from the human ship suggested military technology. "Prove it," she challenged. "Power down your exotic matter systems." Morrison felt sweat on his forehead. If he powered down the jump drive, they would be trapped. But if he refused, the aliens would never believe him. Before he could answer, alarms began sounding on both fleets.
That.
Supreme Admiral called the Zephyrian sensor operator. "Unknown ship, approaching at high speed." Captain shouted Ben Torres on the Nightfall. "New contact dropping out of hyperspace." "It is not Zephyrian." A third ship appeared between the two fleets. It was sleek and black, with weapons that glowed red like angry eyes. Morrison recognized the design immediately. "Raider ship," he said grimly. "Probably pirates." The newcomer immediately opened fire on the nearest Zephyrian vessel. Energy beams cut through space like deadly lightning. The targeted ship's shields flared and failed. Hull metal began to melt. Supreme Admiral Vexera reacted instantly. All ships engaged the raider. Protect the border station. But she faced a terrible choice. If she moved her fleet to fight the pirates, she would have to turn her back on the human ship. The vessel, she believed, carried planet-killing weapons. On the Nightfall, Captain Morrison watched the alien ship burn. Pirates were the enemies of all honest spacers, human, alien, or otherwise. He made his decision without hesitation. "All hands, battle stations. Mr. Torres, target the raider ship." "Chief Walsh, give me everything the weapons have, sir." Lisa Garcia looked surprised. "We are going to help the aliens? Those pirates just attacked innocent people? That makes them our enemies too." The Nightfall turned toward the raider ship. Its weapons powered up to full strength. For the first time since entering Zephyrian space, the human vessel was preparing for real combat. Supreme Admiral Vexera watched in amazement as the human ship moved to attack the pirates. Either this was an incredibly clever trick, or she had been wrong about human intentions. The raider ship fired at the approaching human vessel. Energy beams struck the Nightfall's shields and scattered like broken glass. The human ship kept coming. "How are their shields so strong?" asked Admiral Cuthbert. "Unknown," replied his science officer. "But that ship is built like a fortress." Captain Morrison felt his ship shake as more pirate weapons hit them. But the Nightfall had been designed to survive in deep space where help was light years away. It could take punishment that would destroy most other ships. "Return fire," Morrison commanded. The Nightfall's weapons spoke with thunder. Railgun slugs, traveling at impossible speeds, smashed into the raider ship. Plasma cannons painted space with brilliant fire. Point defense lasers cut through the enemy's hull like hot knives. The pirate ship tried to run. But human weapons had been designed by a species that believed in overwhelming firepower. There was no escape. In less than 5 minutes, the raider ship was a cloud of glowing debris. Supreme Admiral Vexera stared at the aftermath in silence. The human ship had just destroyed an enemy that had given her own fleet trouble, and they had done it to protect Zephyrian lives. Perhaps she had been wrong about these humans after all. The silence after the battle felt heavy in space. Pieces of the destroyed pirate ship drifted slowly past the Nightfall's viewports. Captain Morrison stood on his bridge watching the Zephyrian fleet. 50 alien warships floated nearby there, weapons still pointed at his ship. Supreme Admiral Vexera stared at the human vessel through her main screen. The ship that she had feared as a planet killer had just saved Zephyrian lives. Her mind struggled to understand what had just happened. "Supreme Admiral," said her communications officer, "the humans are sending another transmission. Put them through." Captain Morrison appeared on her screen again. His uniform was wrinkled and he looked tired, but his eyes were calm and honest. "Supreme Admiral Vexera," he said, "I hope this proves our intentions. I came here seeking safe passage, not war. The people on your border station are safe now?" Vexera studied the human captain carefully. In 15 years of military service, she had learned to read faces. This man was not lying. Fear, worry, and determination showed in his expression, but no deception. "Captain Morrison," she replied slowly, "your actions have surprised me. I still do not understand your technology. Our sensors say your ship carries enough power to destroy planets. Morrison nodded. I know how it must look to you. But Supreme Admiral, would you be willing to let some of my crew explain? Our chief engineer could show your scientists exactly how our jump drive works. Admiral Kethfer, listening from his own ship, spoke up. Supreme Admiral, with respect, this could be a trick. They might be trying to get our people close to their exotic matter weapon. But Vexera was beginning to think differently. Captain Morrison, if you truly want to prove your peaceful intentions, would you be willing to power down all your weapons? On the Nightfall's bridge, the crew held their breath. Brian Clark, the security chief, shook his head slightly. Garcia looked worried. Powering down weapons while surrounded by 50 enemy ships was like taking off armor in a sword fight. Captain Morrison thought about his crew and their families back on Earth. Then he thought about the Zephorian civilians on the border station. Trust had to start somewhere. Chief Walsh, he said. Power down all weapon systems. Keep life support and shields only, sir. Tony Walsh looked shocked. Are you sure? Do it. The Nightfall's weapons went dark one by one. The energy signatures that had frightened the Zephyrians for hours suddenly dropped to almost nothing. The ship became as harmless as a civilian transport. Supreme Admiral Vexera watched the readings change with amazement. No enemy commander would make his ship completely defenseless unless he truly wanted peace. Either Captain Morrison was the bravest fool in the galaxy, or he was exactly what he claimed to be. All ships stand down from battle stations, she ordered. Lower shields and power down weapons. Admiral Kethfer sounded alarmed. Supreme Admiral, what if this is still a trap? Then we will die learning something important about courage, she replied. Dr. Amy Chen looked up from her science station. Captain, I am reading massive changes in the alien fleet. They are powering down their weapons too. Captain Morrison felt relief wash over him like cool water. Nina, send a message to Supreme Admiral Vexthera. Tell her we would be honored to share our technology data with her scientists. Over the next 2 hours, teams of Zephyrian scientists came aboard the Nightfall. Chief Walsh showed them through the engineering sections, explaining how human technology worked. The aliens were amazed by what they found. Your people build everything. So strong, said Colvin, Vexthera, science officer. Our ships use energy efficiently. Yours use energy powerfully. We have to, explained Tony Walsh. When you are 50 light years from the nearest repair station, everything needs to work even when it is broken. Dr. Chen worked with the alien scientists to explain human design philosophy. Where most species built technology to be elegant and efficient, humans built it to survive. Every system had backups. Every backup had backups. This is why our sensors were confused, Colvin realized. Your ship produces so much excess energy that we thought it was a weapon. But it is just inefficient engineering, not inefficient, corrected Dr. Chen with a smile. Reliable. Meanwhile, Captain Morrison met with Supreme Admiral Vexthara in the Nightfall's conference room. The Zephyrian leader was taller than most humans, with purple skin and large silver eyes. But when she spoke, her voice was warm and curious. Your people are very different from ours, she said. We build for perfection. You build for survival. Different situations require different solutions, Morrison replied. Your empire is vast and well established. You have repair stations and supply lines everywhere. We are explorers. When something breaks in deep space, we have to fix it ourselves or die. That explains much. But Captain, why did you help us fight the raiders? We were pointing weapons at your ship, Morrison thought for a moment. Because they attacked innocent people. That made them our enemies too. Vexeta studied the human captain with new respect. You've risked your life and your crew to protect strangers. That is what people do, Morrison said simply. At least, that is what they should do. After 6 hours of discussion and examination, both sides finally understood each other. The Zephyrians realized that human technology was not advanced, just different. The humans learned that the Zephyrian Empire was not evil, just careful. Captain Morrison, said Supreme Admiral Vexthera as they prepared to part. The Zephyrian Empire grants you safe passage through our territory. More than that, We grant you safe passage always. You and your people are welcome in our space. You, Supreme Admiral, hope this is the beginning of friendship between our peoples. Chief Walsh reported that the jump drive was finally ready. Navigator Kate Sullivan had plotted a course that would take them through friendly space for the rest of their journey home. As the Nightfall prepared to jump to hyperspace, Captain Morrison stood on his bridge one last time and looked at the Zephyrian fleet. 50 massive warships that had been enemies were now floating peacefully nearby. Their weapons were dark and their shields were down. "All hands, prepare for jump," he announced. The exotic matter in the ship's drive core began to spin faster. Energy built up like pressure in a bottle. Space around the Nightfall started to bend and twist. "Jump drive ready, Captain," reported Chief Walsh. "Take us home," Morrison said. The Nightfall vanished in a flash of blue light, leaving the Zephyrian fleet alone in space. But they were not really alone anymore. Somewhere in the galaxy, humanity was no longer unknown. They had made their first alien friends. Admiral Kethfer filed his report that day with new recommendations. The Empire needed better first contact procedures. They needed to understand that different did not always mean dangerous. They needed to remember that sometimes the most peaceful people were also the most willing to fight for what was right. Supreme. Admiral Vexthera kept a copy of the human technology reports on her desk. She read them often, thinking about the strange ship and its brave crew. The galaxy was bigger and more interesting than she had imagined, and somewhere in hyperspace, the USS Nightfall continued its journey home, carrying with it the hope of friendship between species who had learned to trust each other.